Welcome to Malcom Reed's How to Barbecue Right, a podcast where we talk about barbecue, share recipes, and discuss all things delicious. And now, here's your host, Malcom and Rachelle Reed.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of the How to Barbecue Right podcast. I'm your host, Malcom Reed, joined by my lovely, talented, and partner in crime, Miss Southern Shell. Rachelle, how you doing today?
Great, Malcolm. It's Friday.
It's Friday. We made it through another week. Man, this week's been crazy, ain't it? I thought last week was bad. This week's been busy. We've had a lot of stuff going on, man. It seems like, we just cooked a contest last week. In my mind, that seems like forever ago.
When I
and it was just
writing
Saturday.
down notes for the podcast, I was like, that was this weekend?
It don't seem like it, does it?
This past weekend?
Let's go ahead. Since I brought that up, you want to go ahead and talk about what we did last weekend?
Sure.
Or you got something else in mind?
I had Wagyu TriTip on the front end.
Ooh, let's talk about that in a minute.
Okay. Well, then
That's
let's
too
talk
good.
about
We need to give that
KCBS.
more time. Well, first off, we're going to recap what we did on the weekend. So it was a double contest, a duel, and at least that's what I call them. And that's where you have two different contests going on at the same location. Friday night, we were out in Millington, Tennessee, at the United States. What is it? The USA ballpark. I guess the USA baseball team practices there sometimes or something.
Really? I was wondering.
That's
who
what it's
uses
for.
it.
Yeah, it's the Olympic. I guess the Olympic baseball team uses that facility sometime, not all the time. I don't know. Is there
a USA baseball league like an
not that I know of. I think it's just the Olympic team. But anyway, they had a barbecue there, and I think there was 35 teams, 34, 35 teams. The steaks had more than that. I don't know how many was in the steak field. It was a pretty strong field. Me and Waylon both signed up for it, but Michael had been having such good luck, and he wanted to come barbecue with us. He was going to stay all night. And I told him, son, you can, I'll let you cook a steak. You want to pick it out? You brought him when you got him out of school and brought him up there. And I'd already picked out our number. Luckily, I did pick number one.
Was he excited about that?
Oh, he told me he had a feeling I was going to pull number one. I don't know where he got that from. So I said, what kind of feeling you got about this contest? He said, oh, we're going to win. I said, dang, he's confident. He's bad confident. So I let him pick the steaks out. And the steaks, I will say this, they were subpar. I mean, it was on a level playing field, but man, they were not good ribeyes. It wasn't like the typical SCA ribeye. I don't know where they came from, but they dropped the ball on those steaks. So it was a challenge, and I was like, well, since I'm letting him cook, I really don't care.
Yeah.
We're just going to, is what it is. And so he picked out two decent steaks one decent steak, because we picked last on the second go. And
Did y'all turn in the number one? The
number two steak was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, by that point, they looked like more like strips than ribeyes. And
it was bad picking to begin with.
It was bad picking to begin with. But he picked out a decent steak, and he got back to the trailer, and we got the fires going, and he tied it up, seasoned it up, did all his little tricks to it he likes to do. And me and Waylon watched him. He was like, man, what are you doing? I wanted to see what all he used. He did the same thing that I did on the video. It's just AP and hot rub and let it rest, and then put some steak rub on it and run it. And his trick was just throw it on the grate, move it around a little bit, throw it. I was like, man, this is never going to work. It ain't going to have good marks.
He wiggles it too much.
Yeah, he moves it. He puts it down and moves it around. I'm like, man, that's going to screw it all up. Hey, work for him. He got third place. And I was like,
fourth.
No, was it fourth?
I thought
it was third. He got third, $400. Yeah.
I was
shocked.
fourth.
He almost got the golden ticket pass down.
You're really loud in your
Well, I'm excited to talk about my son. I can tone it down. You want me to tone it down a little? But yeah, so we had a good steak cook. Waylon, man, he got slaughtered.
Yeah.
He got bad slaughtered.
I didn't show up till Saturday, but somebody told me that, it was Jay, Tennessee Mojo told me that Waylon had told Michael, I'll bet you $100 that I'm going to beat you this time.
Yeah.
And
he was confident because Waylon watched him cook the steak too. Yeah. He said, I'm going to let Michael go first and see what he does, and then I'm going to turn mine in towards the back end. Well, so Waylon watched what he did. I timed Michael and helped him out, and kind of, I did like check the internal and help him there when I thought it was, I told him, we'll look at it, see and I do the same thing with Waylon. I was like, let me check him, see where you're at. So he watched, and then Michael turned his in. Waylon cooked his, and I didn't do anything for him because I was busy messing with Michael. He got his turned in. We took a picture of the ticket. He wants to cut up his other steak and try it. And I was like, It's a pretty good steak. I was like, it ain't bad. It's a little on the salty side, but I guess the judges like that salt.
Yeah.
And, sure enough, when it come awards time, they called him his ticket in third. And I was like, man, here he goes again. He's really got a big head now because he thinks he's got it figured out. And that's the bad thing about these competitions, man. Just, you get on a little hot streak, you get called a couple times and you're hooked. You think you got it figured out and you're chasing it. It's like that junkie chasing that high. He's going to be chasing that for the rest of his life, hopefully. But, I'd rather be addicted to that than anything else, than video games.
Yeah, well, he is addicted to the video games, but this keeps
all
him
kids are
off the video games for a hot minute.
So then we went into KCBS.
Yeah, but Michael didn't take the bet with Waylon.
It was a gentleman's bet. He took it. I was there.
Oh, I was told that he did not take the bet because he was afraid he didn't have $100 to lose, is what he said.
Is that what he said? Well, at least he's tight with his money.
The bet. Somebody told him, you need to take the bet because you're either going to win $100 or nothing because he's not going to make you give him $100
if he lost. Man.
Waylon might have, though. He might have been so mad. Just put it on your tab.
You got to pay that. Man, I don't know. That steak cooking's tough, man. Just when you think you got it figured out, it humbles you.
Little things, like any little thing can throw you out of the top 10.
I think it's more luck than anything. Yeah. They're all good steaks. I mean, you don't screw it up. Waylon's steak was good. For him, heck, I thought it was one of the better ones he's ever cooked.
Yeah.
But it was, I guess it was a little on the too flat. I told him, I was like, man, just a pinch of salt, it would, hook it up. And so I don't know if he put some on it before he put it in the box or not. Because we don't, the problem is, a lot of times in those contests, we don't try our second steak until after we've turned in. And at that point, it's too late. You can't adjust anything on it. So we need to get in the habit of trying those steaks first. I hate to cook one, like cook a test steak first and then turn around and cook another one. Some guys do that. They use it as a practice. They get their beef steak, their number 2. They cook it first and they just let it sit and hold. And that way they've got something. If something was to go wrong with their first steak, they know they've got one. And then I'm guessing they try it before they turn it in. That's really good practice.
that is a good process.
To me, I just run them and gun them. And then I guess that's why I hit some and lose some. But I don't know. I got a weapon now. I'm going to let Michael just start cooking mine from now on. Sit back and collect that money. You got to ride it while it lasts. But then we went into KCBS cooking.
And he spent the night in the trailer.
Yeah. So right after we finished steak turn in, it was time to start prepping our big meats. We had to get our butts out, get them injected up, seasoned up. Then we had to do the brisket.
Did he help with that at all?
No, he was out running around with other kids at that point. They were, doing kid stuff, hide and go seeking and all that. Out of our way, luckily. We put it on baseball. Excuse me. We put it on the baseball game and went to work and got everything situated. By 10 o'clock, we were lighting the fire, bringing the grill up to temp, and then we all laid down, took a little nap, got up about, I think it was 1 o'clock when we had our alarm set, put the meat on.
Did he wake up?
I don't know how much he slept because he went to sleep pretty fast. Yeah. He was wore out. It's been a long day. And then, before he went to sleep, we were setting alarms, and I guess he was setting alarms every time on his little phone he had with him. and his alarm would go off when ours did, and he'd wake up. He never did get up. Yeah. But I asked him the next morning, and I said, son, did you get good sleep? Because he was on the air mattress in the floor. And he said, well, my alarm kept going off all night. And I said, well, why'd you set it? I was like, I was going to wake you up in the morning, let you get to bed while we cleared everything out, did our stuff. And he's like, well, I wanted to cook. So yeah, he made it. He's a trooper. And we didn't have any meltdowns. No, he did good. Unusual. He turned in 2 of the entries. He turned in chicken and brisket. And we got a second place brisket and a third place chicken. Yeah. Man, so we came in 4th overall, which is good. That's a good top 5 finish, solid. 2 calls. We got a little checks, It's been a year since we cooked. No, it had been since September. That was our first one of the year. So it's usually you're a little rusty. But we didn't miss a lick. But man, I feel like we got shafted on ribs because our ribs were good. And we got a 159, which is way below our average.
What place was that?
Man, it was down in the 20s.
Yeah.
I think it was like 24, 25, something overall. Yeah, it's on bottom 4th. A 159, that's horrible. They were giving out, 7s and 8s in appearance, and we never turn in anything like that, you know. I mean, usually, I expect all 9s. I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, you know, that's
it's
easy to give a 9 in appearance.
If you know what you're doing, you should always get a 9 in appearance.
Well, we were getting killed, and then so that cost us. Our pork was 11th, just right out of the top 10, which that's okay. You can have one there, but if that rib would have been, you know, a good average for us, 172, we'd have won $1,000. We needed 8 more points. And, you know, to make up that difference. So we could have got them anyway. I mean, hey, it's water under the bridge now. Once you turn it in, that's all you can do.
Everybody's got a story just like that after every
they do. I'm blaming it on Table of Death. But it was a great contest, and we had a good weekend. Michael made it all weekend.
Yeah,
the rain held off.
The weather was beautiful Saturday.
It was an awesome spring day. Yeah. We got home early. I love it when they bump the awards up. Like, we had the awards at,
3:30.
2:30.
2:30.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
We were out of there by 3:30. I mean, we were gone. We were home by 5. I mean, heck, you can't beat that.
We had
two
showers,
contests.
went to dinner.
And it was
great.
good. I was back home by 8 o'clock, ready to wind down. I went to bed early that night too. I was tired, but that was our cook. Cooked a good Wagyu brisket. I don't know how do you. I mean, everybody's getting on me in the video. How you say Wagyu? That's how I say it. Wagyu. Maybe it's Wagyu.
It's Wagyu.
Oh well, hey, you say tomato. I say tomato.
I've been saying Wagyu.
Wagyu, huh?
Wagyu.
Hey, man, I say Wagyu.
Say it, Wagyu.
I say it like I'm from Georgia. So that Wagyu.
It doesn't matter.
It don't matter to me. That's how I say it.
It is.
But anyway,
piece of meat.
The brisket was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, where'd you get this? Where'd you get this?
I got all my comp meat for this contest, except for the chicken, came from the butcher shop in Pensacola. I started ordering from Kevin. I guess
kind of becoming the go-to guy.
2 years ago was when I first started, you know, hearing the buzz that his briskets were top notch. And before that, we were cooking Snake River Farms, and you know, you pay so much. Well, he was a little bit more reasonable than. I mean, they're still expensive now. You're still paying. You're messing up $150, $175 for a big brisket. I like to cook the big ones. You know, I want them 18 to 20. And they're, you know, you get what you pay for. But what's making them so good, I guess he's turning and burning so many that he can pull out if comp guys are calling, you're wanting them for a comp, he can pull them out and just about, you know, pick out a good one for you pretty much. You're not getting that at some of these other places anymore. Used to, they would select some, but not anymore. Yeah. So I think that's why his briskets are above and beyond. He's making sure, because he knows you're trying to win some money with this thing.
Yeah, he understands.
If you're willing to spend that much money, because the rest of them he's selling in his shop. I mean, if somebody's cooking on the weekend, they want to buy a Wagyu, you know, to impress their friends or who's got the money to do that. But anyway,
if you're getting a Wagyu brisket that didn't make the competition cut, it's still an amazing brisket.
Oh yeah, it might not have, you know, the consistency in the flat or as much point to it or something, but he knows, him and Jordan, his son, know what to look for in the cryovac. And to me, I'd rather work with a butcher that, you know, knows what I want and knows that I'm going to complain if I don't. I mean, and that's probably why he started doing it. It's not because he knew people had enough complaints or, you know, doing business. I want straight bone ribs. I want big money muscles. I want a flat that's consistent all the way across. I want it in this, you know, pound range. And that's what he's doing. He's getting you all that meat. So that's why I personally give him my business. And then it just lucked up. He said, "Hey, you want to cook some of these Wagyu TriTips?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." The last one I cooked,
he was going to give it to you for free if you used it. Gave him a shout out.
Yeah, shout out the video, and I don't mind that at all. I mean, you know, if somewhere I'm getting something, spending money with him anyway, I'll give him a shout out.
Heck yeah!
But so he sent me some of those. He sent me some. He asked me if I was cooking anything for Easter, and I said, "Well, you know, it's a good time to do some lamb or something like that." He said, "Oh, you ever tried rabbit?" And I was like, "No, I have not." But so he sent me some rabbits, and he sent me some lamb shoulder chops that, you know, he cut up. They're wrapped up in butcher paper. I don't know what they look like. I planned it. That's going to be, you know, you always talk about what I'm going to do next. I'm probably going to do, since Easter's right, you know, next weekend. I may try to do that lamb this week.
Vote.
You excited about that?
Yeah.
He also sent me some. He also sent me some big dino bones. You know, the big plate ribs. So I got those in the freezer too, and I'm going to cook those. I don't know when I'll get to that. I might have. It'll
probably be 1st of May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Because
we got the Beefer Guys video.
Yeah, the release. That was a fun, man. Those guys came out and we recorded that. Okay. Have you started editing yet? No. Okay. I'm getting too excited. You get me all excited today.
So what makes it Wagyu?
However you want to say it, yeah.
What makes it Wagyu exactly?
Well, the original is like that Kobe beef. Excuse me, my allergies are killing me today. I may sneeze here in a minute. But, so the original is Kobe beef. This super, super marbled, babied beef that they grow over in Japan. Well, you can't get that over here. Not true. So they started selling some of the genetics to some farmers. I
always heard that Kobe had to become from this one.
Probably so. I don't know. But so what they did, they started selling some of those genetics and crossbreeding them with some Angus or different breeds of cows over here. They kind of come up with this Wagyu breed, and now a lot of it now even comes from like New Zealand or Australia. Yeah. And they're getting some awesome beef over there, and then they're just working on the genetics of it, just like these heritage bred hogs guys are doing. Yeah. They're breeding some really, really good marbled. Does it look like I'm fixing to sneeze? Don't laugh at me. It ain't funny. This damn pollen's a killer. But they're getting some really, really good marbled beef. And then so to me, what the difference is the marbling in the meat. Okay. It has more fat content, which means more flavor, more moisture, harder to dry it out, easier to cook, really. Yeah. And I think that's what people have discovered. And it tastes like beef. Yeah. To me, it leaves that taste. That's the main difference is the taste of it. And you could tell it in those tri-tips when you cooked it. It's forgiving if because if you overcook it, it's still going to taste good because it's got so much fat to it. Yeah. But it tastes, man, like you can't get a steak from the grocery store and it tastes anything like it.
But they have grades like Prime and Select and stuff like that. Do they have a grade to make sure that it's Wagyu? I
don't know. See, I think a lot of it, I've read that it's like marketing. Yeah. So for them to call it that, it doesn't mean a certain standard from the USDA. That's not a grade that they have. And it might, excuse me. It may be. I'm going to have to blow my nose. Y'all gonna have to give me a second.
All right. Well,
I'm not gonna do like a brain blower outer. I'm just gonna do a gentleman. But anyway, so yeah, they don't have like a USDA grade that I'm aware of.
So it's like a brand.
Maybe they do. We're going to the Beef Council thing next month, and I'm gonna find out.
It's the end of this month, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll find out.
It's like 2 weeks. That's
gonna be some of my questions. Tell me about this Wagyu. Is it, how is it, do they even classify it? I don't think they do. It would probably be classified as like a high-end prime. Yeah. Because they do have different, like high choice, prime, high prime, stuff like that. Angus, there's different classifications for stuff like that, but I don't think there is for the Wagyu stuff.
Well, how is Kevin down at the butcher shop getting such good meat?
I don't know.
Getting high quality everything.
I started hearing all these people talk about this place in Tampa, and I'm not sure who the purveyor is, but that was where a lot of it was coming in. They move a ton of meat in port, I guess that company does down there, and they supply these most of that stuff started being supplied to high-end restaurants. Barbecue guys started getting it because we were always looking for an edge, trying to, to make the judges like ours better than the next guy, so we started cooking it. The first ones I started cooking were actually Texas raised Wagyus. Yeah. And it was from a company called Strube. Now they got bought out, and I'm not sure. Those were the best. Those were the best. When we first started cooking brisket, I'd found those Strube briskets, and man, you couldn't find anything better. They used to sell them on Big Papa's website. He had a meat locker, and he would sell them, but I would order them straight from Strube. And then I also found a distributor out of Atlanta that could get them. And it was Inland Seafood. Remember, I would meet that seafood truck. The driver would come over from Atlanta going somewhere. He'd meet me in the parking lot like Red Lobster delivering seafood.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's where my first dealings with Wagyu came in. And then that company went out. So I started cooking Snake Rivers, and those were really good. Snake River had some awesome product. But then it became so popular that they, of course, they made this gold grade, which is supposed to be their best. And then they got so expensive. You'd spend $250. They weren't sponsoring any teams around here. And then, so I found Kevin down there, and his briskets were above and beyond what I was getting from them.
Yeah.
I even cooked some Creekstone Primes. I mean, I've tried just about all of them. If there's a good brisket out there, I'm willing to pay the money and try it and see how it does, because I want to win. I don't cook them at home. If I'm cooking at home, I'm going to Costco and get me just a prime USDA because it's reasonable. But
well, going back to the tri-tip, you're getting all over the place today.
Well, I was talking about that Wagyu. You got me excited. Or Wagyu, however you want to say it.
So back to the tri-tip.
Yeah.
What made you decide to smoke it the way that you did?
I just wanted to do it different because I've done the reverse sear and I've done the Santa Maria style, and I wanted to, I mean, there's really no difference in cooking the way I did on that drum versus cooking it Santa Maria style, really.
Yeah.
Because it has that distance in between it. And I knew that there's so much fat in that Wagyu that as it dripped, it was going to make that fire stoke up.
Yeah, and you were basting it.
Yeah, and I was basting it and it had some olive oil in that base, so it had a little more fat in that. And so that was what was really giving me the flavor. If you notice, I didn't put any wood in that. I used lump charcoal. So it had a really, really smoky flavor because of that and the way that fat was dripping. If I would have cooked it down close to the coals, man, it would have, once you get up to a certain temperature and that fat starts rendering, it would have fireballed. And so the drum worked perfect because I could check it back. And I don't think is reverse sear a great way? Sure. But most people cook tri-tips just on a grill.
Yeah.
That's the normal, that's like, you go out to California and there's, guys are learning. I read a comment, one guy said that his dad, that's the way he taught him how to do tri-tips. It was like 15 minutes flip, 15 minutes flip every 15, take it till, whatever temperature you want it on a Weber grill over hot coals. There was no reverse sear. There was none of that. It was just grilling it. You're just moving it enough, getting it even. That's what I did. I didn't know that guy's dad taught him to cook like that, but I was just like, every 15 minutes would be a good amount of time to move this thing to make sure it's not burning up on bottom, because I knew the fat was dripping and it got some color on it.
Well, someone asked, why didn't you just do 30-30?
Well, I would have been afraid it might burn up on that side. So I was just keeping it moving. The base was just to give it some more flavor. But
where'd you come up with that recipe for that base?
I wanted something different. I just made something up. I forgot to even mention the honey when I wrote it out, and somebody called us on that.
I didn't double check your recipe, and
you told me you needed a recipe after I'd already mixed it up on the camera. So
it's been a busy week.
I
gotta add it to the.
You're supposed to proof me, man. I need an editor. I get to writing. I get to writing stuff, and it just flies out.
So you didn't add any charcoal to that fire, but it had a really smoky flavor.
Yeah,
that's just that drum.
That's that drum. I've got that drum so seasoned, man. You can cook anything on it. I've cooked so much, good stuff on it. The flavor's in there, and I'll never scrape that. I'll dump it out if something gets down in the bottom, but I ain't putting nothing to my flavoring in that drum, because man, that baby, man, it makes some good stuff. That tri-tip was amazing. I mean, for it to have no sauce, nothing with it, just beef. And then you got the rubs. I mean, that's a winning combination of steak cook-offs. If you don't know, the AP and the hot and the steak. So I knew that would taste good.
That's pretty much
the
how
balsamic,
you do your steak.
I wouldn't be scared to use that balsamic in a steak cook-off, because it made it wasn't overpowering.
Chunky, though.
Well, you can strain it, I guess.
Yeah,
what do you mean, because of the red pepper in it? Because that's the only thing that would have made it chunky.
Garlic.
Oh yeah, the garlic. Yeah, but you could strain it. Yeah, you could strain it.
You just wouldn't want that, but the sauce itself was delicious. It was great on the tri-tip, but I'm just saying for a turn.
Oh yeah. You'd be afraid some of that garlic chunk would be on there.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was
for
good.
A steak at home. It would be bang up.
Yeah.
It'd be good to use that as almost, you could cook that down and reduce it a little bit and use it as like a dipping sauce or serving sauce with the steak. Whew.
That would be good.
Yeah, it was really good. But you just came up with that.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking for a quick mop, and I was like, what vinegar do I have in there? I saw balsamic. I was like, yeah, it's a vinaigrette. That's all it is.
And balsamic goes really well
with beef.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember that time we cooked those whole beef loins? We were cooking them out there at Springfest one night. We rolled up on these guys, and it was like late night. We headed back to the truck. It was midnight after. And they had like an old drum turned over sideways and some chairs around it. And I was like, what are y'all doing? He's like, well, we're just sitting around. And He's like, I got these beef loins I need to cook. And I said, what? And this is like, man, we've been drinking and having a good time. I was like, y'all supposed to cook beef loin? Well, we really don't know what to do with it. I said, hold on. Let me show y'all. And so they had like a balsamic vinaigrette salad dressing. And so I got those beef loins and just threw some salt on them and put them on that open pit drum they were using as a heater. Cut them into chunks? I think I made them into smaller, like, you know, double thick fillets.
Yeah, you were cooking them like steaks.
Yeah, and then over that open fire. They were so good that night. That was awesome. Who was that? Gary, Breadman?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I thought it was. That was the first time we ever really met those guys and hung out with Breadman. And what was the other guy's name?
We just sat there beside that fire and drank some beer and cooked.
and cooked some fillets, some badass fillets, too.
Just eating random meat off some random pit.
off a half a drum and some fire. That was like their bum drum. They were using it to sit around and stay warm.
Yeah.
I said, we put some cook on this. Give me a piece of that sheet metal over there. There was some expanded metal.
Yeah, it was.
Throw it on there.
Well, did the Wagyu cook differently than
well, it doesn't, you know, as far as cook differently, not really, but it's more forgiving. Because if you take it over, it's okay because it has so much moisture in it. It's hard to mess it up. Like those briskets, we used to take our brisket this past weekend. We took that brisket to 214 degrees. That's way further than you would ever take any brisket. Just because we knew it had so much fat in it, we can get this to where it's. Oh yeah, it did, and that was the whole point of it. You take a regular old choice brisket and cook it up to that high, man, it'll be so dry you can't chew it, or it'll fall apart. You know.
This one almost was falling apart.
Yeah, it was on the verge. You could hang it. But it was.
You would have wiggled and hanged.
The burn ends on it though. Ooh, that was money.
I want another burn in right now.
And those were good.
But do you think one thing that I've noticed with the Wagyu is that when you probe it, it gives you funny readings because of the fat content.
Yeah, I think that it's just because if you notice,
easy to hit fat pocket.
Ribeyes do that. Just regular ribeye steaks because of the marbling in them, and it's the fat. Gives false temperature readings. I mean, it's the only thing I know. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just thinking it does.
Yeah, this is just.
But from personal experience,
yeah.
But
this is just what we.
At that point, you have to go by feel. You know, especially if you're talking briskets, you have to really, really know what they're. You know, they got to be soft. That's what we look for. They got to be soft. When I'm cooking steaks, it's different. I mean, you can kind of tell by the way something feels, but it's more of a surface feel than it is a probe going in feel.
But. Like when you were cooking this, you probed one time and it was reading like something really high, like 150 or something. You pulled it back out and went back in, and it was giving you an accurate rating.
Yeah,
you just hit those fat pockets, and it.
And then sometimes you go a little deeper than you think you do, so you got to double check. But
so
all in all, man, those tri-tips were. I took them to 128, which is what about I take a steak to at a contest. So it's a little over medium rare, but you can see when I sliced them up and they oxidized out, they were still super.
I thought the cook was perfect.
I wouldn't want it any. I wouldn't want that any less rare because of the fat in it. Because you need it to be a little bit higher to melt that fat, but I wouldn't want it any more either.
Yeah. Because
why do I want to eat something like over? So
I think that might have been a light.
To me, that was perfect.
I thought it was dead on, and I'm real picky about. Yeah. I don't. Several people said that it was overcooked in the comments, but I didn't think so. I thought that it was pretty much dead on perfect. I think the light might have looked a little different, but once it, like you said, once it sat there and oxidized,
yeah,
it was.
Man, these allergies killing me today. I've been taking Benadryl and Zyrtec. I need some good pharmaceutical grade stuff.
One thing I've noticed, you've been slicing your briskets, and you did it with this tri-tip too, with that serrated knife.
The Dahlstrom?
Yeah, and you've normally done it with
the slicer.
A roaster slicer.
I'm just playing with knives. Dahlstrom sent me a bunch of knives to try out, and it's like, "What kind do you use?" And I said, I use a big slicer knife. I use a boning knife. I use a fillet knife. I use a chef's knife. Usually about 4 knives is all I need. Sometimes a paring knife if I'm doing something small. But 4 knives is really all I need. And he's like, "Well, we got some we think you'll like." And I was like, "Okay, send them to me."
They sent you some swords.
They sent me some swords and some medieval stuff. Like, the executioner guy that brings out all the stuff to torture people. Yeah, they sent me all that. Some kind of hook thing. No, I don't. But yeah, they sent me a lot of stuff. But I was, forget what I was either reading Aaron Franklin's book or going through, and he uses a serrated knife in all of his restaurants. and they, a serrated knife was in there. So last time I did that pastrami, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try that serrated knife. Well, it did so well. I just grabbed it to slice up this tri-tip, and it works. It's a good knife. It really is. I don't know how.
What y'all used to slice the brisket in the contest this week in the shun?
Yeah, Waylon has a shun, one of those big shuns he got that he loves. It just mows through. The shun's a totally different animal. But you pay for what you get on there. That's like I think it's a $300 knife.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I think it's $200 actually.
It's high.
Because I bought you one for Christmas.
I never get that one out. That's kind of. I only use those shuns on special occasion because I'm afraid I'll mess them. I don't want to get them damaged. Yeah. Or you're not gonna hurt it, but it's just I got all these other knives sitting there. I never think to get out my one that means something to me. If somebody came over and I was doing a brisket, I'd get that one out. Show them I got a shun. Look at me. My baby gave it to me.
This is the second tri-tip that you've cooked that I've thought that was as good or better than prime rib.
Really?
Yes.
What? So the next one,
it came from Matador.
That was a Matador prime. Yeah, and that was a prime beef, and it was different. It was good. It had more of a fat cap on it, on the bottom of it. Did. And so that was really good. These Wagyus didn't have a fat cap. Yeah. They were trimmed in the package, and I don't think Kevin trimmed them there at the butcher shop. I think that's just the way they come. They were double packed, and man, they were shoot. You didn't need any fat cap on it. All the fat was on the inside.
We've talked before about if you had to give up pork or beef, which one would you do? And you've always said you love, you're going to pick the pork. You're going to keep the pork because it's so versatile and you got bacon and everything like that. And I can't argue that.
You can't.
But occasionally you'll get a bite of beef that is better than anything you can get off a pig. It's like.
Yeah. I think there's so much stuff close to beef, though. Like deer or elk or.
No.
I've never tried horse, but. There's nothing like pork.
There is nothing like that bite.
Nothing like pork.
Wagyu TriTip.
Everything's like chicken. You can give up chicken because it all. There's some of the stuff tastes like chicken.
Yeah. I'll give me some frog legs or something. Frog leg wings.
What do you think this rabbit's going to taste? You think it's going to taste like chicken?
I don't know. I'm a little curious.
Yeah.
It's really white, the meat.
Yeah, well, this is farm raised. It's not wild rabbit, so I'm sure it's,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I bet it has more of a neutral flavor.
You bite into that. That was one of those bites of meat where it's almost like your feet don't touch the ground for a second.
I wrote something down here. So, Michael came out and stayed with us, and you had a ladies' night.
Yeah.
What goes on ladies' night? That's what I want to know.
We went to dinner. We had some margaritas.
There's no pillow fights and none of that stuff. Lingerie and pillow fights. Y'all just went out catting on the town.
Yeah, catting.
Out cougaring.
I don't have any single girlfriends anymore.
Yeah.
We all got to be home by 10.
Yeah, you got kids to worry about. They're not all
no,
that.
It's just we're tired.
Oh. Busy life, huh?
Yeah.
No partying anymore.
Anyway, what were you saying?
That was all I wanted to know. What went on ladies' night? I don't know why. I didn't have anywhere to go with it. We went
and had Mexican and margaritas.
Okay.
And then we got a wild hair and went to Windy City, which is like the local bar.
The Hernando watering hole.
We had a few drinks and realized that it was time for us to go home. So I always say, what would you do differently?
Man, I don't know if there's much I would do differently on that one.
I don't know.
As it come up to temp, if you wanted to put a little more crust on it, maybe, and see, you could take it out or either raise the firebox up on the drum to sear it a little more. But I thought it got plenty of sear on it. So there wasn't that was just a hot and fast tri-tip. Yeah. And I mean, it had the smokiness.
When you left, I was trying to take pictures at the end that it was open and
the air got going, the fat was dripping.
You could just let the last few minutes leave
the lid. That's a good idea there. Just leave the top off. Let the grill come on up, really get rolling, and that's going to sear it all you want. Yeah. Just leave it there and sear it. I wouldn't want to overcook it. So that would be. Yeah,
you would just be getting a little bit of.
Yeah, but if you're cooking on a drum, you could do that. You could do that recipe on any grill that way. It's just grilling it.
Yeah.
Kind of. Medium high heat. I would say around 325, 350, right in that range. It just with tri-tip. just don't ruin it. That's the main thing. If you overcook it, if you take it up over, medium, if you go to medium well to well, it's going to be over. It's not going to be that good. Try it down the Wagyu. Oh, it'll be good there. You ain't going to mess it up. You ain't going to mess it up.
It almost needs a little more.
I thought I was going to mess up some burgers, some Wagyu burgers, because I saved my trimmings off brisket and we grind it up. And so I put them on there, and I wasn't paying attention to the internal temperature. This wasn't recent. This was last year, some other time. I hadn't cooked that many briskets to have any that much trimmings here recently. But I'd cooked them, and then when I finally temped them, they were like 165. I was like, oh, man, I've ruined these expensive burgers, Man, we ate those burgers, and they would just drip, the moisture, the fat would just run down your arm. And it well done. It was probably one of the best burgers I've ever ate. And I was like, oh, man. So can you mess it up? It's hard to. You got to really try. You got to really try to mess up some of that.
Heath always says that he either cooks it hot or cooks his, when he gets the heritage breed pork, he always has to cook it hotter or cook it longer, get it up to a higher temp.
To render
all the fat.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I don't like to my comp stuff, we don't cook it hot and fast.
Yeah.
We go slow. We break it down slow. Does it stall out a little longer? Maybe, but not long. I mean, I don't notice any major difference enough to say, oh, you need to give that 12 hours instead of, 9.5, 10. No, it doesn't. Ours don't. Not cooking at 250 where we cook.
Well, if you were going to cook two more Wagyu tri-tips this weekend, would you do them the exact same way, or would you try something new? Try something a different way? Different flavors or something.
Well, since I just had them like that, I'd probably throw some Mexican style rub on it because we made tacos out of it. Like we ate a good bit of it just right there on the cutting board.
Yeah, we had a couple people over.
But we made tacos, and
you had made tacos Sunday. You'd done pulled beef. You'd smoked some
chuck roast.
Mm-hmm. And we made pulled beef tacos.
So, and that's the same Mexican season. I'd put on those and just do them.
Yeah.
It would be so good.
And I made a cilantro jalapeno coleslaw for those pulled beef tacos. And you had pickled some red onions.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided.
That was dinner that night.
Yeah.
We had some tri-tip on the board.
Mm-hmm. We had it left over. So I was like, let's see what this tri-tip is going to be like with this slaw.
Did you even warm it up or just eat it cold?
No, I ate it cold.
Because you came in there with one on a plate. You said, I was going to try one, and it was like so good. You went back and made another one, and then finally you ran Michael to baseball practice, I think, that night, and I went in there and made me two, and I was like, holy cow, these are
so good,
awesome,
and it was so simple.
Yeah, it was kind of had that steak flavor.
Yeah,
I would like to see it with my Mexican seasoning on it to really give it that that south of the border flavor. It would be good.
Jalapeno slaw. I just kind of threw it together. You chopped the jalapenos for me, and we kind of.
Finally kind of minced it.
Yeah. It was so good.
Because you got that burn from the jalapeno, but it wasn't too much, And
the cilantro gave it flavor, and you got the crunchiness, a little creamy element.
It was good.
I need to work on that recipe and actually write it down.
I did come back and doctor it just a hair.
Yeah, I knew there was something. You told me you did. So.
Excuse me.
Now, this week, I thought we'd talk about cooking, or you had the idea to talk about cooking competition ribs.
Because that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend.
Yeah, my question was why are you so interested in cooking competition ribs right now?
Well, the comp ribs that I'm going to be doing are going to be my Memphis ribs. So what we're doing is just honing in. I'm not just going out there willy-nilly. I'm going to put some practice in. So I've ordered up 8 slabs. I think I'm cooking Allegiance ribs this time. I got a blind box cut.
Where are they coming from?
I'm getting them from Brad here locally, the Butcher's Block. I didn't, I think Jamie called him for me and told him that he had, somebody's calling me from the Masters in Augusta. But yeah, so we're going to do those. Mark's coming over. I don't know if Jamie's coming because he's got to go to Cincinnati, but I think Waylon's going to be here, and we're going to run through 2 recipes. We're going to cook four slabs one way, 4 slabs another way, build blind boxes, see which one we think's best after they've been sitting and holding, because, it takes them a while to judge them at Memphis. And we're going to take that recipe, perfect it, use it at Springfest as a tune-up, cooking MBN ribs there, because that's Memphis and May style. And then we'll probably get another practice or 2 in, and then we'll be ready for Memphis.
Yeah. You only got 4 weeks.
Yeah, man, is that right?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. All right.
You got to give me a warning and I'll take you off the screen.
I don't care, man. If you ain't seen a grown man blow his nose, something's wrong with you.
Okay, so first off, what's the difference between competition ribs and what we call eating ribs?
Yeah, and so eating ribs are what everybody cooks at home. Yeah. And they're good ribs. That's the way I did have that wrote down on mine. A rib that I like to eat typically isn't overly seasoned, isn't overly trimmed. I do like baby backs. I do like spare ribs. It just depends on how I'm feeling. Do I feel like a filet? Do I feel like a ribeye? Yeah. To me, the baby back is leaner. It doesn't have as much fat because it's up on the loin, and it's different texture of meat. They're really, really good. When I cook them at home, I just like to keep it simple. Little AP, little rub. I don't wrap them up with the butter and the brown sugar and all that. I just run them Memphis style. I might spritz them with a little water, apple juice, or vinaigrette or something, but I keep them dry. And then when I finish them off at the end, when that bone's ready, I kind of pull on them. You can temp ribs. He showed us that in the video. He takes them to like 204. Well, I don't get caught up in that. I use my hands to temp them. When I see that drawback and I can grab that rib and I can kind of twist that bone a little, and I know it's going to fall apart, I pick it up and it's starting to, it's going to break. That's when they're done for me for eating. I want that rib to pretty much almost break because I know I can take it inside, hit it with a little more rub, let it sit a few minutes, and then I can break it up right there. You don't even need a knife to eat them. Yeah. Now, the meat still stays on the bone. Yeah, no, they're not mushy. They have better texture. It creates more of a bark on the outside, so you get that real barbecue flavor that everybody loves, and then they have been nuked inside a wrap. That, to me, is eating rib. That's the way I like to eat them. Now, sometimes if people's over and I want to do wet and dry, I'll sauce them at the end, set a glaze on them, but it's still not overpowering. I'll just use sauce straight out the bottle. I'm not combining all this, 3 or 4 sauces and doing, trying to make it hit different levels and make them extra sweet, because sweet wins comps. I hate to say it, but sweet wins comps.
One thing I wrote
So
down,
the ribs are different. They're more rich. We packed them full of stuff. We've used several different seasonings on them to build these layers of flavors. We've, wrapped them up to pretty much nuke them to tenderize them. We've added butter to them. We've added, extra honey, extra sweeteners. And then we turn around and add another layer of flavor with another finishing rub, and then a sweet, sweet glaze. And that's what it takes to do really good ribs.
Finishing rub after the glaze.
And that's what it takes to win in the Memphis area, and especially at Memphis and May.
It's not that much different. It's not a little different in KCBS, but not
you
that
get some
much.
different flavors, but it still primarily comes down to what's, that sauce game, what kind of glaze you're putting on it, how you're doing it. And the trick is to do it without burning it up, to do it without it being goopy. You got to know how long to set it.
Perfect tenderness.
You got to get the tenderness right. All those factors come in when you're talking competition rib. And that's why, it's hard. It's hard to cook a perfect comp rib and to win, especially like a contest like Memphis and May, because there's so many teams doing it. And then you're going up against whole hog teams and shoulder teams who have these big pieces of meat to choose from for their judges. Well, we've got 10 little bones.
Yeah.
And we've got to try to wow them with those 10 bones, and it hadn't been done in a long time. But Killer Hogs is coming for it this year. It's going to happen.
I wrote a note that, to me, in competitions,
I think that was Ty
the
Wu
guys that, the guys that win, the guys that compete on the reg, the way they cook their comp ribs is pretty similar, from team to team to team. There's little tweaks that are different.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the way they're cooking the ribs is very similar. And even when you make changes to your comp ribs, you don't go throw it.
Oh, no.
It's little tweaks.
Little small tweaks. Change a little bit of rub here.
But when you're cooking
sauce
at home,
pretty much stays the same.
Yeah, when you're cooking at home, you might do a dry rib, you might do a Korean rib.
Man, I grab ribs. A lot of times I just go how we're feeling.
Yeah.
But
so
I couldn't take it anymore. Joker finally got me. All right. You might do a little editing to this one.
No. I don't have time to edit.
Snotting it up.
You'll be okay.
I'll be okay.
Would you ever cook a competition rib without wrapping it?
Man, we used to on the backwoods some. Never did as good. You can, but I don't think it would work now.
Yeah.
No, because judges don't like a bark, like you know how the bark gets on a butt, how, it has bark. I like that on a rib, but it doesn't do well in competition barbecue. They want it soft. They were trained to take that bite and it be so tender that it leaves a good mouth impression, but it doesn't fall off the bone. Well, if you cook an unwrapped rib, it's hard to get that texture on the outside. It's going to make more of a barky texture. It's like, sometimes you can even peel part of it off because it sets it so well. It's really, really good. Yeah, it's great. Some vinegar sauce. I love the bark. Bark is my favorite thing. That's what a lot of your flavor is. But it would never, right. Yeah. I don't think, I ain't saying it can't happen, but it would be a ballsy move to just try no wraps and seeing how they did. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to work.
Would you ever turn a dry rib in competition?
Nope, never. If I want to be last, I would. For real. That's what it takes. It's come. People have been saying it for years. It's a sauce contest. Well, it's a sweet, sticky, in between saucy and dry. We've always said we called it muddy for years.
Memphis muddy,
yeah, muddy style. But really, is it sauced? Heck yeah, it's sauced. And most of the time, sauced pretty daggum heavily. We just set it. We set that sauce so it tacks up on it, and that's what makes that muddiness. If you sauced it and didn't set it, that would be a saucy rib. If you sauced it and set it, that's what would be, a muddy style rib.
I imagine that if a judge saw a non-sauced dry rib, they would assume that the person didn't know what they were doing. That's what I would think.
All on camera, blowing my nose. Y'all have to live with it today. I'm about to go get me a shot or something.
What are you looking for the flavor profile of a competition rib?
Well, of course, you've got to have that salt there. That's the element that brings everything together. So when you start talking savory or talking something from your ribs, I'd like to taste it. It's supposed to taste like barbecue. Mm-hmm. So that's where your rubs come in. You don't want to taste
it and taste salty.
No, but you need the salt there to balance. So it shouldn't be salty, but it should balance it. It needs to have some heat to it. I don't care if it's coming from pepper, like cayenne, or black pepper. I like a little bit. Or something like that. I like it to have a little back end heat, so it's usually got a little white pepper in it. You're laughing at me. I'm sitting here trying to hold it together the best I can, but yeah, and then it's got to have a balance. It's got to have some richness to it, and that usually comes from the type of ribs I'm cooking. Or the stuff we put in the wrap, the parquet, whatever it is, if it's parquet or butter, whatever you want to put, and that's going to have that sweet factor to win.
You can't eat too many bones of a competition rib.
No,
it's really rich.
2 or 3 bones and you're done. You're not going to sit down and eat a rack of them.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to eat a rack of comp ribs? Man, you'd be so sick.
I've probably eaten 3 bones before and been like,
wish I hadn't done that because it's hot. Yeah.
Because you're hungry and they taste so good, and you eat one, you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat another one." And then you're like, "I'm gonna just eat one more," and then you hate yourself for the rest of the day. Yeah. So, what is the perfect tenderness on a comp rib versus the perfect tenderness? We you talked about this a little bit.
Well, in Memphis and May, they got to be a little further over.
Yeah.
Because judge has to actually tear them apart. So that's the tenderness I'm looking for. I've even seen some of those judges take them off the bone, so they want it. It's not falling off. They got to be able to pick it up, but they want that bone to jump out of it. So it's a little more done than say a KCBS style. In KCBS, that perfect tenderness is you take a bite, your teeth go right through it. It leaves that perfect bite impression, and then that's it. And it's not mushy. It's not, it doesn't go to like a peanut butter texture in your mouth. It has a meat feel. It's soft. It just feels, we talk about mouth feel. It feels good. It feels like a good piece of meat, and you're eating a rib. It's
not mealy. It's not mushy.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's hard. Perfect texture. Yeah. That's all 9. That's 9s in texture.
But like you said, it still has to hold up. Like in that one video you did with Heath, he picked that whole slab up and shook it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then could still rip it apart. So that's a small window you got to hit.
Oh yeah, that's the trick to ribs. That's what makes it so tough. It's not the appearance. It's not the flavor. It's all in that texture of a rib. It really is. How well you cooked it tender. And without going over, without being under. Yeah, there's not, because you're dealing with all these bones and meat in between bones. That's the whole deal with them. And that's why everybody's always chasing. Ribs is tough. It really is.
So what ribs are you cooking in a comp?
Well, I like to cook a good rib. Like, here lately, I've cooked a bunch of Allegiance.
Yeah.
I really like comp hearts. Smithfield has some good ones.
But you're typically going with a higher end.
Yeah. I'm sure I just find them because they're more consistent is why. The heritage bred hogs taste better.
Yeah.
Like the comp heart, even that Cheshire, the Heath Cooks, Berkshire, all those, man, their ribs taste so good.
You can tell that the quality of meat better in the rib over a butt to me.
Yeah.
It really showcases in a rib where you can get away with it in other
more
cuts.
so.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Those big cuts at the shoulder and hog guys, there's so much more meat to pick from.
Yeah.
You're going to find something good in there. I mean, it's just if you know where to go and you know what parts to pull from, you're going to find it good in a butt or a shoulder or a whole hog. A rib's a rib. I mean, you can't go to different areas of that rib and, you know, if it's either done right or it's not. And it's usually across the whole slab. A judge ain't going to get a tender end and then give over to the middle and they can't pull it.
Yeah.
And then they're going to say, oh, well,
Sometimes it's a little tender on the edge.
Well, that's if it is. But, you know, that's why we square the racks up. We try to make them uniform. We cut them down to where they're the same thickness all the way across because we wanted to cook the same from end to end. That's what I'm selling them on. I perfectly cooked this rack. My ends aren't burned up. They're not overdone. They're just as tender on the end as they are in the middle when I got a rack laid out in front of me and then got the judge, you know, holding it.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to work on. That's what takes practice. And that's what we're going to do starting, you know, this weekend.
And at home, if we're cooking a slab of ribs at home, I mean, what was it the weekend before last, you just grabbed 2 slabs
from Kroger. Yeah.
It was whatever their Kroger brand
What were
was.
those? Prairie Fresh or something like that?
I don't even think they were Prairie Fresh.
I don't know what
they
brand
had a big
it was.
Kroger sticker.
Oh, they may have, yeah. You know, those were probably
packaged there.
I bet you they were Hormel's or Smithfield just because it's like a store logoed brand. Some big person that's packing a lot of porks doing those. They were good.
They were good.
I mean, just some old run ribs, no wraps on the Traeger. I mean,
they
weren't smoky as I like them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing. Now, that's one thing I had to talk about in ribs. I like them to have some smoke flavor. Mm-hmm. So I run a little bit of hickory and a little bit of cherry. And sometimes I'll even put a little pecan on there just because I like my rib to have some smoke to it. If you're running ribs no wrap to eat it at home, don't put smoke on them the whole time. Only smoke them for the first couple hours and then let that burn out and don't add any more. Just cook on your residual heat at that point. But you can't beat a good rib that's got some smoke flavor to it and it's got the seasonings and it's got the, you know, perfect tenderness.
Yeah. I don't like it to be too over, you know, like too much in the wrap, too many rubs, too many seasoning. I want it to be kind of plain.
You want to taste pork, right?
Yeah, and I want to dip it in a vinegar sauce.
Yeah, I love the vinegar sauce with it too.
Good dry rib.
You know, I like to warm that up. Warm the vinegar sauce a little bit, have it in like one of those little dipping crock pots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And have it warm and then put it in a little cup or a little bowl or something and then dip it instead of putting sauce all over my ribs. That's perfect.
I think that's why I like Central Barbecue's sauces
because they keep it in that sauce warmer. Yeah.
You're not getting cold sauce, you're getting hot sauce.
All theirs is their mustard, their regular sauce. They all keep it kind of warm. I guess those plug in, huh? It's like a nacho cheese dispenser or something.
Kinda. What pit are you using to cook your comp ribs?
Oh, hickory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What pit do most people on the competition circuit are using?
You see a combination of all kinds of things. Yeah. I mean, I would say that number one pits now use are drums. Yeah, there's more drums out there than anything because they're reasonable.
There's a lot of stick burners, jambos out there. The pro guys are using.
A lot of old hickories, a lot of backwoods. Yeah. Or those type clones. I mean, those are all good pits.
So I have a question.
Click off of me.
So, you know, those, like the can guys, the guys that do so well, Tim Shear from Shake and Bake, you know, the Getting Basted team, are they hanging their ribs?
And comps, you know, I don't know. I never really watched them. I bet you they start them out just on the
flat
rack. Yeah. They're moving them often. That's what the secret to those. If you're cooking ribs on a drum, you got to be moving them. Because if you leave them in the same spot, some of them's going to burn up.
Just like the tri-tip.
Yeah, just like tri-tip. Yeah. You got to be moving it. But you can hang them and they turn out pretty good. I love a hang. I love a good hanging rib.
It's like charcoal and.
Yeah, it gets more of a pit. It's kind of a pit rib, you know. It's an authentic, real barbecue.
Well, how do you finish your comp ribs? And how do you finish your ribs at home? And what's the difference?
I mean, at home, I just throw a little rub on them when they come off.
What do we mean by finish?
Well, how you, right before you finish and serve them. Yeah. And comps, we take them out of the wrap, drain all the juice. We season them a little bit, put them back on, let that dry up a little bit because they're ugly after you've been, hammering them with the heat inside a wrap. And then we sauce them with we glaze them with a warm sauce and we set that. So that's, quit laughing at me. This is got to be an audio only one. But,
you like you're
about to sneeze.
A stroke or something.
I'm trying not to sneeze. I've been fighting it all. It started yesterday. But, and then when I'm eating them at home, man, I'll just take them and hit them with a little more rub and eat them dry style. Like we talked about, I like to eat them with vinegar sauce. I don't like to put anything on them. So that's my personal choice. I mean, who am I to tell somebody how to eat their ribs? Eat them how you like them. You want to put honey all over them? Put honey all over them.
Yeah, honey for the money.
Honey for the money.
What knife are you using for slicing ribs?
Comps, we use, last week Waylon used that Shun for those baby backs. Most of the time, he uses one of those razor Havilons with the wider blade, not the little thin blade that they come with. It's got like a wider blade. And so it's pretty much a razor blade, like a scalpel.
Yeah.
And it makes it clean, straight cut.
And that's what you're
Or that red-handled Victorinox, is that how you say it?
Super sharp knife.
Those are really good too. It's a 5-inch semi-flexible fillet knife, I think. I bought it on Amazon for $20. Those are some good knives.
But it just needs to be super sharp.
Yeah.
Straight cuts.
That's it.
How do you cut them to go in the blind box? And how do you build your blind box?
So what we're working on for Memphis and May, they do what people call the Hollywood cut. And it's a 2-bone Hollywood cut. And what that means is it makes the ribs look wider than they actually are because you're going right up beside one bone. You cut right beside it, like as close as you can. So that leaves a big hunk of meat. Then you skip a bone, then you skip another bone, and then you cut up against that 4th bone. So you've got 2 bones with meat on the outside, and that's kind of that Hollywood cut, maximum meat. Yeah. Well, and we try to get at least 9 of those in a box. I like to get 12, which would be 12 2-bone sections. So if you can think, we can kind of stack them in there 2 by 2 by 2, and then rows of that. That way it looks like mini half slabs laid in there perfect. That's what we go for.
I mean, but how many of those can you get off one slab? Like 2?
3 if you're lucky.
3 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've gotten 4, just depends on how straight the bones are. But
4 of those cuts off of one rib?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to go with the 12-bone rack then to do that. Yeah. And you have to cook it just perfect. But most time 3. We're taking 6 bones out of the same rack, 6 center bones. And that's usually.
But you're dropping a bone in there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how you can still get 3 sections. I still look like I'm going to sneeze again.
No, I'm just.
You don't know how to cut ribs? What are you asking me?
I've always.
With a butter knife.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's how we Hollywood cut them.
Yeah. I just assumed that you'd only get 2.
No, out of a whole rack.
Yeah.
You can get 3.
Yeah.
We try to. I mean,
yeah.
Well, it looks better in a box if you've got ribs that come out of the same rack. They all match up. And that's the whole idea. We want them to look like that slab of ribs, but they've been cut. And you have to make sure you cut all the way through them. That's why we drop the bones in between. But we're only dropping 2 bones there.
Yeah.
If you think about it. We're cutting right in beside one, right in beside the other. We're skipping 2 bones, right in beside one, right in beside the other. And so when we're taking the last 2 and cutting on the outside. So it's easy to get 3 sections if you've cooked them right out of the same one. I won't give away all the secrets, but you're trying to get it all.
I didn't know that was a secret.
I don't know if it is or not, but that's what's going to win.
Okay, so, dang it.
Did you lose your place?
I got the wrong questions.
You know what time it is? Crawfish time.
It is crawfish.
Man, prices have went down. I think they're like $2.65 now live. I heard down in Louisiana they're $2. That's what Mark's cousin's bringing up for his deal coming up. Everybody's invited.
I have yet to have any crawfish this season.
Go to Mark's Facebook page and tell him you want to come to his crawfish. He's going to have a live band. He's going to have valet parking. He's going to have a full open bar, servers.
It's all this going down. Party of the year.
Party of the century. You only turned, how old is he? 33, 32 once.
Yeah. You only turned 32 once.
You only turned 32 once. He's got a big tent rented. DJ booth, power plant. No, a light plant's what he told me he had. I guess he's going to plan on lighting up that field back there.
A what? Hold on. He's what?
You know those portable lights they bring to barbecue contests? He's got one of them.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. It is going to be the party of the year.
Party of the year.
Okay, so you got any more comments on competition ribs?
No, I mean, that's...
Run how you cook your competition
No, not right now. Well, yeah, okay. I put some rub on them. First, I get them and I trim them all even. I want them all the way the same. Okay. And then I put some seasoning on them. Then I put them on the smoker. I put some wood on there. Might baste them a little bit. Maybe not. Who knows? Who knows what with. And then wrap them up, get them tender. And then I take them off, dry them out a little bit more seasoned, glaze them with a really good sweet sauce, and cut them in them pieces. And it's going to be pandemonium. That's as much as I'm willing to disclose until after I win. Okay. After that, I'll tell you exactly what I used. Well,
you still have a couple different methods that you got to iron out. You still got a few little...
I know 2 combos that's winning right now, so I may, you know.
So that's what you're going to do this weekend.
Yeah.
Hone it.
Hone it. Yep.
So, we actually have signed a lease on an office.
Yes. We are moving in right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we've been doing all week, getting things ready. I've been met the fire marshal over there, met the
we got internet.
A1 fire guys. We got internet installed. Hopefully the internet's going to be way better, so maybe we can do a lot more, live stuff maybe. I don't know. That's something we thought about, but we're going to be changing sets for our podcast once again. This will be the 3rd set change in 2 years.
We never had a set change.
Oh, yeah, this is the first set because of the video. We moved out of the closet to the bedroom. Now we're going to an official office. I feel like we're, becoming adults. You know how it is? Or big time. I don't know if it's big time.
I don't know if it's big time either. Because we're moving to a real office, kind of.
Kind of, yeah, because it used to be an old house.
Yeah.
It's still pretty cool, though.
Yeah, it's going to be a good office for us. It's not a real office, but it's an older house that we're going to utilize as an office.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be some, taking to get used to. But hopefully, I think the room that we've got picked for our podcast set is going to look really cool.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get me a little cooking area outside there so that when people come over to do stuff, we can do some filming over there in the back. It's got a huge backyard, and it's kind of graveled, so there's a place to park, and then it's got a place where I could put some grills and stuff. So I just need to build like a covered area with a cooktop or something that I could, like a bar top or something.
We needed to get a desk going first, so it might be a hot minute.
Yeah, we got desks coming. What else we got coming there? That's about it, really.
Yeah.
We'll have to get some furniture in there.
So what are we cooking next week for Easter?
I've already bought for the video. I'm probably going to do those lamb chops. I was talking about for Easter.
But go ahead. What are you cooking for Easter lunch?
Well, I know that I bought a ham. Spiral ham, so I always do a ham on Easter. I'll probably do a turkey breast. Thinking about doing some carrots, like some glazed carrots on the smoker, the whole carrots.
I'm gonna do, either me or your mom will do some dressing.
Yeah, oh yeah, you gotta have some good dressing. Man, I had a whole thing. Butter beans. I want some butter beans. Yeah. Maybe spinach.
Oh, spinach gratin.
Squash. It's not squash season. It'd be hard to get that.
Yeah. So, sounds good.
It's going to be good. Family's coming in town.
Yeah. And this Saturday, we're going to a crawfish boil.
Yes, the Mudbug Bash for the Palmer Home. We'll give them a shout out. Palmer Home is kind of like our local orphanage, and they do this.
An orphanage, but yeah.
Well, they help kids that don't have families or places to go. They take them in, they make sure they have shelter, food, going to school, clothes, the whole 9 yards. Take care of them, and they're raising money for it. This is their big spring event. They've been doing this, I don't know how many years, 15 years, 19 years? Long time. But we're going for the first time. and it's all you can eat crawfish. But there's going to be a bunch of restaurants there doing tastings and stuff like that. You can get tickets on Palmer Homes website. I don't think you can just show up and buy them at the door, can you?
I don't know.
But anyway, it should be a fun event in Hernando. If anybody's local wants to go check out, support the Palmer home, they'll be doing some kind of live auction or silent auction or something like that.
Great cause. It's kind of our favorite.
That's our local charity of choice. We try to help the Palmer home out because it's all we believe in. That's an important cause.
And we also threw around the idea of cooking some crawfish at the house for Easter.
Maybe
the day before.
Yeah, so we may have some. It's crawfish time, man. That's why I put that on my thing. I'm actually, somebody's borrowing my pot this weekend. Mark he's cooking for the church. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be some good. I've got, I'm not cooking Easter bunny. I've got 3 in the freezer, but I'm not cooking him this weekend because I don't want to scar any kids for life. I know there's a lot of kids out there that watch these videos, and I'm all about getting kids cooking. I'm not cooking whole rabbits. I refuse to do that because I don't, there's no telling what Instagram or YouTube for cooking whole rabbits. They probably listed as graphic content.
Yeah.
And 2, I'm not cooking the Easter bunny, so I'm going to have to wait till after Easter to cook the.
It's not like
it's got the floppy ears and the fuzzy tail and the whole 9 yards. Well, I'm going to do something with those, but I'm thinking more the line of braised, like smoked and braised rabbit. Something where it's cut up and it probably won't be as offensive. You know how people are these days, man. They get offended on everything.
Whatever.
I go out there chopping heads off rabbits and throw them on the grill. They'll accuse me next cooking Rudolph. I don't want that. What do you say? Don't worry about it, huh?
I was raised in a different.
Eat your pets. Yeah, I know how you was raised. Y'all eat your pets. That's so wrong. If I had to eat my pets.
We never ate any pets. But you did raise animals.
They did that to my dad one time. What was it? I think it was he doesn't eat a lot of chicken because he had like a pet rooster or something. My granny killed that rooster one day and served it up to him, and it broke my dad's heart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now he don't like chicken. You don't hardly catch him eating fried chicken. I mean, he will, but he still said he don't want to eat his pet. That was
he got
Mr. Clucker. Yeah. I don't know what his name was. Fed him his pets. That was just normal every day for y'all, huh?
Delicious.
Oh, Charlie the goat out there looks good. Having a good day. Next thing y'all know, y'all eat him on the barbecue, right?
But we didn't think anything wrong about it.
I guess it ain't.
I mean, we watched them kill him, process them.
Cold-blooded.
Those kids that live by, I remember telling us, like, that scarred me. Going over there and watching, that goat get processed and killed.
Circle of life.
Y'all were just standing around, like.
Cheering for you. You knew it was going to taste good, huh? You couldn't wait. Man, that's a Chainsaw Massacre stuff.
Well, Michael needs a little of that.
Man, he'd turned vegetarian on him. You would have killed him.
Anyway.
That's fun.
Well, let's.
Oh, deviled eggs. I got that on my thing. I don't even know why. Yeah. You're going to make some of those deviled eggs with the bacon in them and the sweet fire pickles. And,
sure, yeah.
Man, those are so good.
They're a little spicy.
Yeah. That's what we're doing for Easter, deviled eggs. That's all I got.
That's all I got, too.
Well, hey.
It's time to wrap this
up. You want to tell them about all the places that they can find us if they don't know?
Sure. If you would like to connect with Malcolm, it's HowToBBQRight, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and, of course, YouTube. If you'd like to connect with me, it's Miss Southern Shell at Instagram and Twitter.
You know, we didn't answer any questions this time.
That's why I said shoot.
We'll do that next time.
I pulled up the wrong ones.
Okay. Well, hey, we'll go over. We'll have plenty of questions from TriTip and Hot Wings and all that. If any of you have some questions, go ahead and send them to Miss Southern Shell. However, she said get in touch with her. Send them to me. I may or may not see them because I get thousands, but I try to go through them as best I can. But we appreciate y'all checking us out today on the How to Barbecue Right podcast, and we'll see y'all next time. Oh, I'm going to get rid of this damn cold.